those things that you kind of just like, oh, I'm a Libra, and then you kind of leave it at that.
Mm.
And that's at least kind of how it goes in the space around me. People don't critically analyze their sun signs the way that they do their rising and their moon. But so I'm enjoying this opportunity to do so.
Yeah, for sure. Where is your moon? I can't remember.
Scorpio.
Okay. And then your rising is...
Oh, no, sorry. My rising is Scorpio. My moon is Capricorn.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it reads as fake sometimes, which actually ends up, unfortunately, people think that that's the Libra side of me being fake and flaky.
Oh. I've never even heard of like Libra being flaky or...
Really? Oh my God. Everybody is like, oh, that's the Libra part of you. Really? I hear that all the time.
Oh, like, you mean like if you're canceling plans or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I have the ADHD. I mentioned that earlier. And that comes up in my chart quite a bit.
Interesting.
And like as troubles with rejection sensitivity and I don't want to call it lack of focus, the too much focus on too many things.
Yeah.
That was actually big in my chart. And then like when I figured out I had ADHD, I was like, interesting that we can like get medical diagnosis from that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or like connections to medical diagnosis, I should say. I wouldn't use my chart to diagnose myself. But where was I going with that?
No, I was just asking you.
This is kind of what I mean. My brain is flaky.
Your brain, yeah. Your brain is flighty, I guess.
Yeah, flighty is a good one. Flighty is, that's a little bit more like accurate for like the Libra vibe.
Yeah.
Flighty. But that doesn't mean we can't commit.
So what signs do you get along with? Do you feel like
Taurus
Scorpios?
And Scorpios are at the top of the list, and then Leos.
So
those
Leos,
are like the top three.
Leo, Scorpios, and what was the third one?
Taurus.
Okay.
Yes.
Because it's like opposite from your rising sign. It's in your seventh house. Yeah.
I have always had Tauruses in my life. I have always had Leos in my life, and I have always had Scorpios in my life. Like, always.
Yeah.
My child is a Taurus. My wife is a Taurus. My ex-husband's a Taurus. My sister's a Leo.
People, like, when you tell them that you're a Libra, like, what do you think they assume?
I'll almost always go, oh, that makes sense. Which makes me laugh. Because it's like, your sun is what you put forward. And so while I don't always consider myself super Libra, like, apparently I put that out there. But it seems to be like that soft kind of healing, nurturing feeling that I have, or that other people have about me. They seem to relate to my Libra-ness and also kind of my like flighty airiness. And when anybody thinks of like the scales of Libra, they, justice and all those things, like that's very much in line with who I am as a person and activism and all those things. And that's like my driving force and what I put forward pretty much immediately with everybody. So it's like, I look like the justice card sometimes, I think, in other people's minds, which I don't mind. That's pretty cool to me.
Yeah.
I would rather be seen as somebody who, like, seeks fairness and equity and, like, the real way to, that is him crying to get in.
Yeah.
But the real way to, like, make me angry is to do something that's really not fair,
Yeah.
So, and I don't get angry easily. Because fairness is kind of relative. I'm going to let this cat in because I'm a fair person.
You were telling me what you thought people like assumed when you told them that you were a Libra, and it sounds like it all actually is pretty accurate. What they see,
it's true. Yeah. The one thing like that they don't seem to see that I do is the like vanity side of things. Libra's one of the like keywords for Libra is luxury,
Uh-huh.
and like delicacy. We like a little bit of glitz and glam in our lives,
Yeah.
and I feel like I really have to work hard to get people to recognize that in me, and I don't know if it's because they want to see me as like soft and sweet and not like also vain or anything. I think they think that's a negative thing, whereas I don't necessarily view it as a negative thing.
Yeah.
And maybe they just don't want to say it out loud. I don't know. But I like to be seen as kind of glamorous and kind of interesting. I like the like when you said when you asked me to do this, and you said that I didn't have to be in the spotlight, and I was like, why would I turn down the spotlight? I'm a Libra.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a less recognized trait that I wish people would recognize more. I guess like I'm wearing a crown. See it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. With the ruler being Venus and everything.
Yeah.
It's just that beauty and that like
exactly
edge.
And the romanticized rose-colored glasses almost. Although I'd like to say I'm a pretty realistic person.
But that wouldn't really stop you from like having an exotic sort of like flair or like perspective.
That's true.
You know.
That's true. Oh my God, sorry, the cat tried to climb into his fountain and he's never done that before. I thought he was going to make a mess.
Wow. Do you feel like, because I think the other thing people think of with Libra is like the relationship part of it, you know, like Libra being like the natural seventh house and Libra being kind of like a very relationship focused person. How do you feel about that?
I have been perceived as a little flirty as a Libra, I think. And also like there is the assumption that I'm going to be in a relationship. Like, you're a Libra. Oh, of course you're the married one with the child and the family and the like still in the honeymoon phase. Like, that's totally going to be you. And yeah, maybe that's true. But yeah, I often forget that Libra is ruled by Venus. Like, I forget all the time. And I think that's probably the asexual part of me that forgets that. And it is kind of a sexy sign, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I think
I hadn't really considered.
Yeah. So,
Oh, darling.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, definitely get that. Yeah. She's there's a lot of self-love with Venus.
Which is, which is like great.
I get a lot more of that than I ever have, like, romantic. And I think that's probably because that's what I've needed from Venus.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's the conclusion I'm going to draw from that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like, what do you feel like, I mean, I guess you already answered the question about like, what do you feel like you wish people saw about Libra? It's the more like the exotic sort of like luxurious side of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the crown.
The crown.
We have the authority to hold these scales, okay?
The authority. I like that. What do you think is like challenging about being a Libra? Is there anything hard? Is there anything where you're like, this is
reining it in? Yeah, I wear the crown, but I don't have to show it off all the time. Yeah, I feel like we kind of have the tendency to go over the top sometimes, and I don't know, the nailing down the flightiness, because the world that we live in is not, unfortunately, as varied as we are as humanity. And so those little personality quirks don't always fit in with, like, our capitalist machine. Um, we got to be more
Mm.
Libras, unfortunately, have to be a little bit more practical than I feel like we are,
Mm.
in order to like survive and thrive in the world. We want to be a little bit more romantic and a little bit more flowy, and the world wants to put us in boxes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think every sign probably has their unique challenges with that, in the world of how we fit. And everybody, of course, you're going to probably get way past sun signs, and we already talked a little bit about moon signs. So whoever's watching is going to learn all about how the chart is. There's a million Libra suns out in the world, but even adding my moon and my rising is going to narrow that down to so much, like, fewer people who are like me.
Yeah.
And that just is how humanity is. Not a single one of us is the same.
Like what makes you like shine, like you're like, oh no, I can bring this to the table. Like this is my thing, like this is easy for me. Maybe it's hard for other people, but it's easy for me. Like
we're kind of known for being the artsy type. And the way that somebody described me growing up that always stuck with me was I saw the world painted a different way. And I kind of feel like Libras have that perspective of seeing the world painted. We see it really artistically. And I feel like it's a really creative perspective to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those cool things that we can do. We see the world painted. The way he said it was that I saw the world painted the way that it really was. And I don't particularly see it that way, but I definitely see the world painted. And I don't translate that with images. I translate that with words. But a lot of us are visual artists. And I am not sure why I ended up being a more verbal artist, but yeah, there's a lot of visual artist Libras out there, and I think that's that shimmer also. It's not just paint; it's shimmer. There's a little bit of shimmer.
It's a little too. It's a little glittery.
Little pixie dust,
yeah. Do you get along well with other Libras? Do you feel like?
I was thinking about that question, and I can't think of very many Libras that I've met, to be honest. I meet a lot in passing, and I seem to like vibe, but I don't have very many or like any Libras in my life.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I maybe I repulse them. I don't know.
Oh.
There's
like
not very many Virgos in my life or like Geminis. There's certain signs that I just don't have a whole lot of in my life. Yeah. I didn't even remember that question.
Yeah, like I said, I think you answered.
Another relationship with other air signs. We only kind of talked. My brother's an Aquarius.
Yeah, and then it froze.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he's the other gay one in the family. So we're the closest, always have been. And my old friend Taylor was a Gemini, and we got along really, really well. Unfortunately, she was very young and impressionable, and a Leo took her away. But no, my ex-girlfriend she did the whole stealing the best friend in the breakup thing, and it was like, wow, come on, you guys, we can't just be grown-ups.
Stealing the best friend. Wait, so your ex-girlfriend was which?
So I introduced them. They became friends through me. And then when we broke up, she stole my best friend. It was very upsetting.
And your best friend was the Gemini?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then your ex-girlfriend was a Leo?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I said, I've always had lots of Leos in my life.
Wow.
And oddly absent from the circle. We talked about that one. And the least favorite, hardest to get along with sun signs. Oh, we didn't touch on that one.
Juicy.
That is juicy. Spill the tea.
Yeah. Virgo?
Aries.
Aries.
Actually. Aries.
Oh, okay.
I don't always get along with Aries. I had an ex-roommate who was an Aries, and she was a whirlwind nightmare.
Yeah.
And, like, I mean, I was truly afraid by the time I moved out. I lived there for 2 months.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Aries that I've met since then have had that glint in their eye,
That Mars, that like Mars war energy, and you're like, I'm the peacekeeper and I'm the beautiful one.
Like, yeah, I'm like, it hurts, not the face, But that being said, as I get older and I interact with a lot of older Aries, I am finding that to be less of an issue. It seems to be the fiery youth for the fiery signs.
Yes.
Which is fair enough. I can't really blame youth for being youth,
Yeah.
I hold no grudges against young Aries. But I feel like if you're going to be an old Aries and still drive out every person in your life, you might want to be a little bit more critical.
Yeah, maybe you haven't learned your lessons.
Yeah. maybe that's when you look at the rest of your star sign and stop, or star chart, and stop blaming your sun sign.
Yeah.
She was one of those people who would like, oh well, I'm an Aries.
Oh, like use it as a justification, kind of.
Yes. Yes, everything was a justification for all the terrible bad behavior.
Oh no.
But it's fine. I got out of there real fast.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I feel like some signs across the way, like because you have Aries is like opposite the Libra. So it's like, sometimes the person like who's completely like opposite from you is sometimes can be like a bit of like an enemy.
We're very different.
Yeah.
There's all the Aries people that I have met have been so different from me, and to varying degrees of being able to mesh with that or not. And because I work with a few Aries now that I find very easy to work with, but I could tell, like, I don't know that we could hang out outside work, Like, yeah. I think that might ruin the good work vibe that we have.
Yeah.
Gotta have the extra boundaries, but also be open to people who are very different from you, obviously. And that's something I think also that I grew into as I got older. It's not just that Aries have also grown out of it. I've grown into not just blaming people for their sun signs.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, there's obviously like your sun sign, you learn and grow like into like the best version of it, right? But then like I also feel like people across the way from each other are actually like more similar than they seem to be, kind of thing, because it's I feel like there's a lot of like dealing with similar issues sort of thing, but it's like you're coming from the opposite side. Like like the way I see, and you can tell me like if this resonates or modify it or whatever, but like the way I think of Libra is like, or ultimately you guys want peace, but also you want justice. So like within yourself, there's like a conflict because it's like you see what's right, but then like you want to like keep the peace and you want everybody to get along. And so there's like a challenge with like speaking up for the thing that like you see that is right. But then like Aries is like completely the opposite, because they don't think before they speak. They are just like, this is how it is. Boom. And it like comes out of their mouth.
Shoot first, ask questions later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's true. Those are things that we can and should learn from each other and borrow from each other. And that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I think within the last year, I had a lot of growth in that direction.
Yeah.
Of like knowing when to pick a fight and how far to take that fight, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And actually the first time we went out in public again, Haley and I, we went out to a bar with friends and I almost started a bar fight. And
wow.
You remember going to bars with me. That's not something I would have done. It's not like I normally would have just like, tried to let things slide or like, haha, let's maintain the friendly atmosphere. But this guy wouldn't stop trying to hug on my friends. And I was like, we need to stop. And I brought the energy way down. And like, I felt really bad, but it was like, it needed to be done. Cause like 5 minutes later, when everybody cooled off, like these girls were looking at me like, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Like, I
Yeah.
ended up, I had to cross the line and start the fight to keep the peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's, I guess, that is something I would have had to learn from an Aries,
Yeah.
because they would have, it wouldn't have taken them that long to learn to be like, hey, can you not do that? We don't like that.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I was like, hey, you need to not be touching people who don't want to be touched right now.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of like this question of like when to speak up and when to fight. And it's like Aries is coming at it from like always it's ready time to fight. And you're coming at it from like it's never time to fight. And it's kind of like, like you got, you can learn from each other about like
There's a time for it.
yeah. Yeah.
Right? Pick all the fights all the time. Pick none of the fights none of the time.
Mm.
But it doesn't work either way.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I mean, I think that's it. Like I think we basically covered all the Libra stuff.
Awesome.
So I could stop recording now if you want. But I'll just record for this part. Like, thank you for doing this. Like,
of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was super good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. It was fun.